As we continue to tell the story of Jack Nissalke and how he was framed for murder in 2009, John and I are here today at Cole's Pub in downtown Los Angeles. It started in 1908, and so that's what you're seeing here in the background, and we just had lunch, and we're going to get back to the story, and we appreciate your reading and watching the blog and sharing this with other people to try to help us overturn this injustice. The story actually started in 1985 in June when Ada was found dead on a Thursday, June the 6th, 1985. This is the newspaper account the next day after they had discovered her dead and stabbed to death 33 times in her bed, between the bed and the wall. The headlines read, "Mystery surrounds local death." Basically, that's still the story here in 2011, is it never has been solved, it's still a mystery. However, as they go through the paper, this very first day they find Ada, the very first newspaper account, they tie her to Clyde Dwayne Bobby Fort, and how that Ada has been testifying against Bobby for stealing firearms and selling them across state lines. The very first day she's found. As they begin to investigate in June of 1985, they ruled her death a homicide quite clearly right from the very beginning. I got these newspaper accounts when I was in Winona myself investigating the murder back in October of 2010. In the first 2 weeks, they interviewed 12 different people in this murder investigation. They did a very thorough job of going around talking to everybody connected with the murder. Then they turned up nothing. No new developments in the Sonnenfelder case. Again in the newspaper, the Winona Daily News, no new developments in the Sonnenfelder case. They were still gathering all these clues, gathering all this evidence, no arrests were being made. When I was first investigating the murder, going through the newspaper files there at the library in Winona, I discovered 6 months prior to Ada's death, Bobby Fort was arrested based on her testimony. Bobby Fort and a guy named Earl Lemon. They were both professional criminals, had been stealing firearms. They were paying other people to steal them. They were selling fencing boat motors, guns, all sorts of power tools, chainsaws, and selling them across state lines. Ada went and testified against Bobby, who she was living with Bobby at the time that he was arrested. At the time of Jack's trial, and for all these years, the FBI, the ATF, and the BCA all thought that Bobby Fort was the main motive for Ada being killed, not Jack Nissalke. The newspapers go on to say that the first time that Bobby was in court to be sentenced, but she got a very light sentence for the 6 months before Ada was killed, Ed Bolstad was also in court the same day. Ed had a tie with Bobby, and also all the Bolstads were doing business in a criminal way with Bobby Fort. So Ed is also in court, and he's pleading not guilty to stabbing a bouncer at a nightclub just a few months before Bobby was arrested. There's a hearing that the paper got a lot of press about. Is Bobby and Earl Lemon were in court together. They set a trial date. And then one of the juveniles, whose name is not here, but his name is Larry Kukowski, was also arrested in the very beginning of what led the authorities to Bobby Fort. I interviewed 2 other people that were juveniles with Bobby at the time that were professional offenses, that were criminals, that confessed to me that they heard Bobby plan to kill Ada right there in the very beginning. He was 67 years old, had never been in jail before, and a fear of going to jail for the rest of his life. The newspaper accounts go on to say that Bobby only got a 6-month sentence for jail. Earl Lemon only got 10 days in jail. They both got light sentences, but the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, were waiting to arrest them both. Bobby mainly, as soon as he finished his jail sentence at the Winona County Jail. They were going to press federal charges. Bobby would die in jail. His main concern was Ada testifying against him, and so something had to be done. Bobby told people this, it was common knowledge, and the people who worked for him told me. Jack Nissalke did not kill Ada Sonnenfeld. Come back for another episode.